Today on AGetc, we're at High Plain Journal's Cattle U, where Brandon Deppenbush gives us an update on cattle trace. Shannon Rogers heads to the Beloit County Fair, where she talks with families about the lifelong benefits of being involved in 4-H. Find out how important plant diversity is to your soil at Soil Health U. Rocky Farms talks about how they incorporate companion and cover crops to keep their soil healthy. Then Jerry Bone of Pratt Feeders was awarded the Industry Achievement Award in Amarillo. Then we wrap up with Melinda O'Day at the Rossville Field Day. She reveals some exciting findings on her research with cover crops that you don't want to miss. It's all coming up right here on AGetc.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
I had this horse. It was a good horse, except for when the wind was blowing above 30 miles an hour. Wind was blowing about 35, 40, and I saddled him up, rode him out to the end of the lane, and I thought, well, he's doing pretty good. And about 6 jumps later, I was laying on the ground and thinking, boy, my shoulders sure hurt. I kept waiting, and it didn't get better, and so I went to an orthopedic surgeon, and that showed that I had torn rotator cuff. And said, well, we'll have to do surgery. I thought, I farm and ranch by myself. This is not going to work out very well. I'd been sleeping in my recliner for about 2.5 years because it hurt too much to sleep in bed on my side. I'd heard about Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center on the radio. Gotten down there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 11:30 the procedure was all over. They just took some fat out of my side here and spun that down for about 45 minutes and then injected it in my shoulders, and I was on my way. It's something you don't hear about, but I thought it was worth a try, and I'm really pleased. It's really worked out well for me.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
My name is Brandon Deppenbush, and I'm very appreciative of being at the Cattle U today to talk about cattle trace and traceability in the U.S. You know, there's a couple issues that I really want to drive home to your listeners that are seeing this. Is one, that the importance, in my opinion, of traceability, the need for traceability in the U.S. You know, there's not many guarantees that we have in life, but I think one guarantee that we'd have in life would be traceability after a foot and mouth disease outbreak. And people say, well, we haven't had foot and mouth in the U.S. since 1929. But the reality is that every year 38 million people get on a plane in another land and come and land in this country each year. And it's not unreasonable to expect that some of them could accidentally bring in a virus that could be very contagious, such as foot and mouth disease, to our cattle. Well, don't have to look very far to see the African swine fever, what wreck it's having on the other side of the ocean. So when people say that we don't need it, I'm going to challenge that because I think there's an accidental cause that could come in. But also, it wasn't too many years ago that we had people flying planes into buildings. We would never conceive that. So there are people out there that want to do us wrong. The guarantee is that if we have foot and mouth disease, we will have a traceability system in our country. This is an opportunity for us as producers to come together with Cattle Trace. Cattle Trace is a producer-driven initiative to create a disease traceability system in the U.S. And we can either do that, we can either have the producers build it, because we know our industry as good as anybody, or we can be reactionary like every other beef exporting country in the world. We are the only one of 2 countries in the world that export beef that don't have traceability, us and India. And in pretty much in all cases, all those other countries that have a disease traceability, they were reactionary. They had to respond to a disease outbreak. So what that meant as a government, I'm not anti-government by any stretch, but people that maybe don't know our business as well as I did, they had to build a disease traceability system for us. So Cattle Trace, again, is an initiative for producers to be able to build that traceability system. We have a producer board of directors that will determine the who, when, and how that data is accessed. And when I talk about data, every time an animal is sighted, whether it be in a sale barn or a feed yard or a packer, we're going to collect 4 pieces of information. We're going to collect the date, the time, the official ID, and the GPS location of that animal. We think with those 4 minimal pieces of data point that animal health commissioners can successfully run a disease trace back and quickly identify animals that are diseased and, more importantly, other animals that may be at risk. And we can quickly ascertain and quarantine those animals that may be at risk with the end goal of minimizing the spread of the disease. Now, the final thing I'd like to maybe leave with the audience would be is that we're focused 100% on disease traceability. And you can be critical of our very, very narrowly focused effort, But what our hope is with cattle trace, we can build an interstate system, a highway system, or an internet, whatever analogy you want to use. We want to build that infrastructure with the sole purpose of disease traceability. We really want to have other people come along and add the value add opportunities, build upon that interstate. So go to exit 302 or 202 or whatever, and add their database there that could be used to share information up and down the supply chain. So whether that be vaccination, birth dates, antibiotic use, whatever that information, to be able to have that side, that value add side, to be able to pull that information through. So it was a great talk today, had a great audience, really great questions, and that's what I like most about it, is to be able to interact with the audience and be able to address their questions. But I'm very happy with our group, that we have a very palatable message for producers, that when they hear it, they're not scared away from it. They certainly have questions, and I'm all about questions, but it's a palatable message. So if anybody has any more interest, want to come learn more about it, cattletrace.org. So cattletrace.org would be a good place to go to get some additional information. And if you share the vision that we do for the need of traceability in this country, we'd love to be able to work with you and see if we could partner with you in some way.
Kim Mannering with Hardy Insurance. Today we will talk about employee safety and work comp coverage. On your farm, do you ask your friends to come help? Are they considered employees or neighbors helping neighbors? Did you know that you can be held responsible just as if it's a work comp accident? Give me a call, we can discuss. 316-945-6733.
Welcome to the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in my hometown of Oakley, Kansas. We're the front door of Western Kansas, located on 3 main highways, I-70, US 83, and US 40. And all those roads lead to history, beautiful scenery, and adventure, no matter which direction you go. We now have an IHOP. That brand that you've trusted up and down the road in all your travels is staffed with local folks, real people just like you and me, and we're waiting on you to join us. So for fun, adventure, fuel up, fuel your body, and let's have some fun.
What if sustainability were synonymous with U.S. soy? If energy efficiency, water quality, and soil health help define U.S. soy's value, that future is here, the time is now. To meet end-user demands, the Soybean Checkoff is committing to sustainability that's achievable, worthwhile, and enduring. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
This segment brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook. Let us help feed your family.
4-H is about more than the ribbons and awards. It's about the people, the experiences, the lifelong skills, the memories, the county fair. It's about being a role model, giving back, and making the best better.
And did you raise the steer?
From as a baby, yes.
Okay. And what have you learned from him in training him, preparing him for this show? Has he taught you anything?
It's a lot of hard work getting him ready.
Okay, exactly. What kind of things do you have to do at home to prepare yourself to come to a show?
Making sure he stays cool and feeding him every day at the same time, so that way he stays on schedule feed, and wash him every once in a while.
How have you seen your children grow by participating in various livestock projects?
Gosh. Chance started in livestock. They both started their first year in 4-H, and 11 years ago when Chance chose pigs, we chose them because they were an easy project to start with, and then we just stuck with them ever since then. And you have the typical answers. It makes them responsible and teaches them organization, but it also teaches them how to win and lose with dignity, because you don't win showmanship every time. You don't get to go to round robin every time. You're excited when you do, but it's okay when you don't, because like we said earlier, livestock families are one big family, and you're there to cheer on your friends that you've met through 4-H, and it just has helped them form really good friendships with other kids.
With the average age of today's rancher around 60, the question arises, Where are the future agriculture producers? The purpose of these livestock projects are not only to expose youth to the livestock industry, but also to develop important life skills.
Tell me about your family's cattle operation.
We raise cattle. We calve in the fall and the spring. Our spring herd is Charolais and our fall herd is Angus.
Okay, and so what kind of jobs do you have to help Dad with at various times of the year on the farm?
Well, every once in a while he makes me feed steers, which often is a fiasco, but you have to get through it. And bale hay, move bales, run the grain cart, run the combine, whatever he needs me to do, I'm there.
Okay, so I know you're both involved in a lot of school activities too, but during those calving seasons and your school activities, you still have to make time to help Dad out and help with the calving?
Yep, after school I usually go help, or we got a feedlot, I have to help there sometimes while he's doing the other stuff, so.
Okay, excellent. Now, Dalton, what would your, in 5-10 years, where do you see yourself?
Hopefully back in the farm and doing what Dad did, helping everybody else out.
It is apparent that these participants not only put an emphasis on the importance of the family, but they participate in these activities together.
When my mom and her siblings were in 4-H, they would do a flock, which is 2 aged ewes, 2 yearling ewes, and a buck. And so my grandpa and my grandma would both show with the 3 kids.
Okay, excellent story. So there is so much in 4-H family heritage when it comes to exhibiting livestock. And what is your favorite part about this project?
My favorite part would be getting to know the animals.
Okay.
And getting to work with them.
And now, Chance, did you help with the bucket calf show?
Yeah, I was around a little bit this morning.
Yeah, this morning. And why do you enjoy doing that?
It's always just fun to see what the little kids are, how they're getting involved. And, it's something that they look forward to forever, getting ready and taking their bucket calf out there. And then it's always fun listening to their answers to their questions as well. But you have to realize too that those kids are ones that are going to be coming up and starting these other projects when they get older. So just keeping them encouraged, and they're falling in love with all the animals now, and so then they can do great things when they get older.
Yes, and I really appreciate our older 4-Hers effort to help out with the various aspects of our livestock projects, because also I know that those younger 4-H members, they're looking up to our older 4-H members. They see them compete and win various things, participate in the round robin, and they're watching you more than you probably realize, and looking up and respecting you. So it's one thing I love about 4-H is watching the older kids take on that leadership role as they grow in the project.
Ribbons and awards will fade, but the things 4-Hers learn will last a lifetime.
For the 15th annual Fall Bull Sale at Gardner Angus Ranch, Monday, September 30th at 9 a.m., featuring approximately 450 registered bulls, 160 registered females, including 35 cows and 125 heifers, and 300 bred commercial females. These are elite herd sire prospects and rank in the top percentiles of the Angus breed for calving ease, growth, and end product merit. Catalog will be available at GardnerAngus.com. Register for online bidding at liveauction.tv. It's business as usual, producing value-added seed stock that provides opportunities for profitability regardless of our customers' chosen marketing endpoint. See you in September at the ranch.
Okay, looks like it's time for our tour. Welcome to the Fort Wallace Museum. Here at the museum, you're going to find some really interesting stuff like our replica stagecoach from the Butterfield Overland Dispatch. We've got facades from the fort buildings. We've got an 1870s flag. There's a plesiosaur that was discovered locally. We've got the Ray pump organ collection. We're a little bitty place with a great big story, and we'd love to have you.
This segment brought to you by Sure Crop, liquid crop nutrition delivered right to your farm.
A few of the fundamentals on Rocky Farms that are really strong for us is plant diversity plays a really strong role. And it starts with plant diversity, but it doesn't end there, because you need good plant diversity in order to support diversity in the soil and above ground. Even if you're talking about insect populations, it's impossible to have that in these monocultures. So for Rocky Farms, getting away from monocultures has been a really key component. In the potato crops, we use companion crops. Use flowering strips within those. I'm rotating with the diverse cover crop, which we have cattle grazing on top of. So we have we keep hearing about the 5 fundamentals of soil health here, and we pretty well have those covered. The one we're probably the weakest on is the soil being covered at all times, and a lot of that is because of the low residue crop of potatoes. So playing in a little different realm than a lot of the guys that are speaking here, but all those other fundamentals we cover very well and strongly, and we benefit from them all.
I think it's important for people to know they can do this. They can make these changes. It doesn't need to all be at once. It can be one step at a time, but regardless of what you're growing, what you're farming, what your system is, you always have the opportunity to make a choice to do it differently, and all of these things are possible.
One thing that I think is real interesting as a person that gets to speak and listen at one of these conferences is just, for example, Gabe Brown was speaking right before me. We are in completely different environments, growing completely different crops, but we were both emphasizing the same fundamentals. It's just over and over again, and you go and listen to these other guys talk, and we're always covering the same core fundamentals. And I think that's really important to keep in mind. And it's really up to the individual farmer to figure out how to take those fundamentals and apply them on their own operations. We can't sit there and tell each individual what they need to be specifically doing, but focus on the fundamentals, focus on things like carbon cycling and soil structure, figure out how to maximize those on your farm, and you're gonna see positive results.
Well, we look at how we farm as more of a cycle, as more of a loop. There's give and takes within that cycle, but it's not just straightforward. It does, what goes around comes around, I guess, in your farming system.
I think one thing that's really beneficial to us is being a certified potato seed producer. For us, we don't buy the seed, plant it, grow that crop out that year. We're producing all the way back to tissue culture, growing mini tubers in a greenhouse, growing that crop out for 3 or 4 years before we can sell that seed. So for us, we've always had to look at the big picture in multiple years stacked on top of each other. So for us to look at the soil health on a longer term scale wasn't that hard for us, whereas I think where a lot of farmers struggle is they're so used to farming 1 year at a time. And for us, we need to look at the big picture and how 1 year will impact us 5 years from now.
And that also comes into one of the most important resources in farming, which is water. We live in a drought-stricken area, and a lot of these practices came about because of water conservation, not so much of the soil health aspect in the beginning.
Yeah, between water conservation, and I mentioned in my presentation too, we wanted to eliminate our personal exposure to a lot of these chemicals. It wasn't even, the first step wasn't about soil health or crop health, it was our health. We really looked at that first, and it's like, what do we need to do to protect ourselves? And that's what really opened our eyes to looking at how we can improve this other system completely.
And bringing us back into that relationship with the farm ecosystem. Sometimes I think the farmer's out here, the farm is happening here, and we're back in this circle where everything that happens with the soil, with the crop, affects us too.
Well, and that's why I do like that definition of biotic farmer, because that includes the farmer. Yeah. So when you look at certified organic, that is about the things you are not doing. It's not about the positive things you're doing, and it really doesn't take the health of the consumer and the farmer into consideration.
Yeah, we have a healthy farm, not just healthy soil.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
Clyde Sutton, Ness City, Kansas. lived on this place all my life. About a year and a half ago, got to where I couldn't saddle a horse. The pain was terrible. Read about stem cell. First it wasn't for me, then they started doing neck and back. Went and had it done. As you can see, I saddled a horse. I'm still building fence. Love to shoot a shotgun rifle, and I'm able to participate, not like I used to, but nevertheless I can do the things I used to do, and life is good.
You don't have to be a farmer or rancher to become a Kansas Farm Bureau member. Anyone can join. As a member, you'll get discounts on things like hotels and entertainment, health and wellness services, cell phone plans, and more. You'll also strengthen the lives of your fellow Kansans and help build strong, prosperous communities through agriculture advocacy and education. Join us today. Visit kfb.org/join to learn more.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or for more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Jerry Bone turned down the job once before he and his family moved to Pratt Feeders in 1982. And to his surprise, he stayed.
When I first came here, I said, well, I'm going to be here 5 or 6 years, and then we'll go somewhere else. And 36 years later, we just recently moved to Wichita, Kansas, where we retired.
Over the years, the Kansas native has learned the best way to work in the feeding business.
You learn by doing, you learn by making mistakes and correcting them. And I think, too, surrounding yourself with good people. You want them to do the job like you would want it, do it if you could do it yourself. And so I think, it's a team effort. It's not just Jerry Bone or one individual, but it takes a team to run an operation like this.
Bone learned that relationships are key to trusting the people who handle his cattle.
You don't run a business for practice, and so obviously making a profit and doing it the right way was important to us, and I think that allowed us to be successful because we did focus on doing things the right way, being honest and having integrity, and we did what we said we'd do. And I think also in that game you have to be competitive too, and so it was important that we pay attention to what costs were, and I think as a result of that, over years built up a pretty decent reputation for our industry and for what we do and the people that we are.
That translates to listening to supply chain demands and focusing on premium beef.
Our involvement with U.S. Premium Beef in 1996, and then as we became a certified Angus beef partner feed yard in the early 2000s, just really caused us to kind of reevaluate what we were buying and what we were doing, and we then began to focus more on carcass quality, focus more on hopefully satisfying consumer demand for better beef, and I think the whole industry has headed in that direction, but that was certainly something that we chose to do there 20 to 25 years ago.
Bone received the Industry Achievement Award at the 2019 Feeding Quality Forum, August 27th and 28th in Amarillo, Texas.
Beef demand's pretty darn good in the U.S. right now, and I think it's because of the quality of the cattle that we're producing.
I'm Bob Cervera.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well in their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@SureCropFertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we're glad to answer it and work with you.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
This segment brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
So my name is Melinda O'Day. I am a graduate research assistant at Kansas State University in the agronomy department in weed ecology with Dr. Anita Dilley. Been here just a few months, and I'm working on cover crop weed suppression ahead of corn. We're using a couple different cover crop treatments and trying to figure out what the best management practices are and some principles to use ahead of corn. Something that's a little bit unique about my study is that I am using some cereal crops ahead of corn, which is kind of a no-no because of potentially their nitrogen use or depletion of the soil. But I'm adding some legumes and things like that. If I was to give a recommendation for some of the major, most important considerations that you'd want to make before you choose a cover crop, especially ahead of corn, it would be your species and your termination timing. In the species, you'd want to consider your goals, whether your goals are weed suppression, erosion control, nitrogen supplement, or possibly breaking up maybe a hard pan layer that you have in maybe denser soils. Depending on these goals or issues that you may have with your field, it is going to influence which cover crop species or mix of species that you choose. Another important consideration to make would be termination timing. When you go to terminate a cover crop, if you're looking at weed suppression especially, you want to make sure that you have the most biomass accumulated as possible before you terminate that cover crop, but you don't want to let it go so late that the cover crop goes to seed or is still competing with your cash crop once you get that planted in the spring. Once you determine your species and when that species will need to be terminated or when its growth period is maximized, then you will be able to know when the best time to terminate is and how that will factor into your cropping system. For the best information that I found on this is from Midwest Cover Crops Council and a Managing Your Cover Crops Profitably book, which you can purchase and has some great information on species, planting dates, and how they fit into your cropping system.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agaminkansas.com.
Imagine turning soybean oil, used cooking oils, and waste animal fats into fuel so amazing it drives U.S. jobs and our economy forward. Learn more about biodiesel at americasadvancedbiofuel.com.
You don't have to be a farmer or rancher to become a Kansas Farm Bureau member. Anyone can join. As a member, you'll get discounts on things like hotels and entertainment, health and wellness services, cell phone plans, and more. You'll also strengthen the lives of your fellow Kansans and help build strong, prosperous communities through agriculture advocacy and education. Join us today. Visit kfb.org/join to learn more.